Chapter 51. Si Ting looked at the young girl in front of him and quickly scanned her body. She was unscathed. She looked as if she had not encountered any trouble at all. However, that was not right. If Chu Luiyue had walked in the wrong direction and triggered the Xian formation, she would have encountered some problems. However, she looked as if she had just walked over casually. If she had not encountered any accidents, she should have arrived a long time ago. At the very least, she should have arrived around the same time as him. However, she was one step too late. Si Ting wanted to see something from Chu Luiyue's face, but there was only calmness in the depths of her bright eyes. He couldn't see anything. It was as if nothing in this world could shake her mind. "You are very fast," Si Ting said briefly. Chu Luiyue spread out her hands. "I am still a little slower than you." Si Ting did not say anything else and turned to walk forward. There was no suspense in this competition. The only variable was Chu Luiyue. However, it was obvious that she did not intend to use her abilities, so it would not be too late to investigate in the future. Chu Luiyue did not say anything else and continued walking forward. As she passed by a certain area, she looked at the millstone-like stone under her feet. Who would have thought that this was the core of the Xian formation? This ordinary-looking stone actually contained the most powerful energy in the entire Xian formation. As long as she walked past this place, she would not be far from the exit. Si Ting's figure quickly disappeared, and Chu Luiyue followed closely behind. When Si Ting walked out of the forest without any obstructions, Sun Zhongyan and the other two were already waiting there. He pulled out the flag easily, and at the same time, a firework flew into the sky from the flag. Boom! As the firework bloomed in the sky, it meant that the first place of the Xian Master Assessment had been revealed. Si Ting, you have indeed improved a lot. This time, you only took less than an hour to come out. Sun Zhongyan praised him. Si Ting looked calm as he cupped his fists and bowed. Thank you for the compliment, Elder Sunday. I still have many shortcomings. You are only 15 years old this year, but you are already a level 3 Xian Master. You have a bright future ahead of you. Another middle-aged man laughed. Hearing this, Si Ting's expression changed slightly. He seemed to want to say something, but in the end, he swallowed his words. He turned around and looked at the forest. Sure enough, it didn't take long for a beautiful face to appear before his eyes. It was Chu Luiyue. There wasn't much difference in the time the two of them took to reach the finish line. Sun Zhongyan and the other two began to seriously size up Chu Luiyue. This rumored good-for-nothing girl turned out to be like this. Chu Luiyue walked over and pulled out the second flag. When the firework flew into the sky, the other students who were competing in the back of the mountain were all shocked. The first area of the warrior assessment immediately became noisy. How did the Xian Master Assessment progress so quickly? The senior sisters said that it would take several hours. This should be the first place, right? That's still a bit early. Guess who will be the first? Who else could it be? With Si Ting around, no one can get first place, right? At this moment, a deep and powerful voice rang in everyone's ears. First place for the 453rd Xian Master Assessment, Si Ting. Once the voice was heard, the crowd exploded. It's really him. According to this efficiency, Si Ting is definitely a Stage 3 Xian Master, right? I haven't heard much about him in the past half a year, so I thought he had gone quiet. I didn't expect him to get first place without anyone noticing. Yet, Chu Xianmin can't compare to his talent at all. How can a warrior be compared to a Xian Master? Some people whispered and kept looking at Chu Xianmin. Chu Xianmin forced herself to hold it in and pretended that she didn't hear anything, but her nails were already digging deep into her palms. This limelight has been stolen by Si Ting. However, it didn't matter. After all, Si Ting was from the Si family and had nothing to do with her. As long as she could teach Chu Luiyue a lesson today, the second firework flew into the sky again. Everyone was stunned. The second place for the Xian Master Assessment? There was only a slight delay in the timing? *CK. Who's so powerful to be able to get second place right after Si Ting? A few questions came from the crowd. The voice from before sounded again. Chapter 52. Although Tianlu Academy's assessment was divided into different periods and was conducted in 3 different areas, they would usually announce the top 3. To a certain extent, this was a reward for the outstanding students. At the same time, it could also motivate the other students. It was not strange for Si Ting's name to appear in first place in the Xian Master assessment. However, what right did Chu Luiyue have to take second place? The noisy back mountain instantly fell into dead silence. Chu Xinmin's body stiffened as chills ran down her back. Her entire body seemed to be out of her control. Her mind was blank. Only one sentence kept echoing in her mind. It almost made her brain explode. Chu Luiyue. Second place in the Xian Master assessment. How could it be? How could it be? Being a Xian Master required a lot of talent. Even she did not have the luck to become a Xian Master, let alone that good-for-nothing Chu Luiyue. Soon, the crowd started discussing. Chu Luiyue is second place? Is there really no mistake? No matter how I think about it, it doesn't seem right. Didn't they say that Chu Luiyue is a good-for-nothing with an incomplete yuan meridian? Could there be a misunderstanding? Even if she passed the assessment, how could she be second place? One had to know that other than Si Ting, there were dozens of outstanding Xian Master talents participating in the assessment. These people had studied in the academy for more than half a year. How could they not even compare to Chu Luiyue? Someone spoke hesitantly. Could it be true? Maybe she really has amazing talent as a Xian Master? If that's the case, Teacher Bai Chen's attitude can also be explained. That's impossible. Chu Xianmin screamed almost subconsciously. When the crowd looked over, she realized that she had lost her composure and immediately explained in a panic. I'm saying that Sister's Yuan Meridian is indeed incomplete. If she had talent as a Xian Master, there's no way her family wouldn't know. I don't know how she did it either. In other words, Chu Luiyue's second place was not legitimate. Someone chuckled. Chu Xianmin, you stole the Crown Prince's favor. Even if something really happened, Chu Luiyue wouldn't tell you, right? This caused the crowd to burst into laughter. The entire imperial city knew about what happened at the Crown Prince's birthday banquet a few days ago. Chu Xianmin took the initiative to offer herself to the Crown Prince to gain his favor, which ultimately led to the cancellation of the engagement between Chu Luiyue and the Crown Prince. With such grievances, how could the two sides still have any sisterly affection? To think that Chu Xianmin looked as if she was thinking for Chu Luiyue just now. Her acting skills were really good. Chu Xianmin's face immediately flushed red, and her entire body felt like it was on fire. Chu Xianmin, are you saying this on purpose because you're afraid that Chu Luiyue will steal your limelight? I didn't. Chu Xianmin immediately denied it, but the mocking gazes around her made her feel uneasy. She gritted her teeth. In the past, everyone had said that the position of the Crown Prince's consort would belong to none other than her. Each and every one of them had tried to curry favor with her. How could they dare to say such a thing? But now, her reputation had been ruined. No matter what, the title of Crown Princess would never belong to her. These people immediately turned hostile, ridiculing her to the extreme. I just think it's a little strange. After all, the Xian Master assessment this time is too fast. Who knows, Chu Xianmin, are you doubting elder son? Questioned Ling Zhu with a frown. Sun Zhongyan was highly respected in the academy. Not to mention these students, even most of the teachers did not dare to be rash. Chu Xianmin shuddered and finally lowered her head. I don't dare. Seeing her like this, Ling Zhu secretly shook his head. He originally thought that Chu Xianmin was smart, but he did not expect her to be so narrow-minded. The semifinals are about to start. Doing your own thing is the most important thing. Chu Xianmin nodded and took a deep breath. Now, she only had the hope of regaining her lost ground if she took first place in the warrior assessment. In another area at the back of the mountain, the 451st batch of students' assessment was in progress. Rong Jin stood there and checked his sword. The few youths behind him looked fervent. Your Highness, it looks like you're going to take first place in the warrior assessment this time. Your Highness should be the strongest in the entire academy now, right? Rong Jin chuckled and looked into the distance. That's nothing, ping. A firework exploded in midair. Rong Jin took a look and squinted his eyes slightly. A youth beside him laughed. Si Ting already took first place in the Xian Master Assessment. It looks like the Warrior Assessment's first place is out too. Another youth's eyes turned and chuckled. Yeah. The Warrior Assessment's first place should still be Chu Xianmin, right? Rong Jin paused, and his expression softened. She's quite talented. If Chu Xianmin took first place, her reputation would recover a little, and he would look better. A low and thick voice sounded. The 453rd batch of Xian Master Assessment students. Second place, Chu Luiyue. Chapter 53. Chu Luiyue? When Rong Jin heard this name during Tianlu Academy's assessment, he almost suspected that he was hallucinating. This is the same name, right? Said a few youths uncertainly when they saw his strange expression. Rong Jin put away his sword, and his face was as dark as water. Go and ask what's going on. One of the youths hurriedly turned around and left. The remaining few people looked at each other in dismay. They were all a little confused. His Highness hated Chu Luiyue to the core. Now that he heard this name, he naturally wouldn't be in a good mood. The few of them instantly quietened down as they were afraid of angering Rong Jin. However, they weren't the only ones who heard this sentence. The other students waiting for the assessment at the side also heard it clearly. Some people started to secretly look at Rong Jin and secretly wondered if this Chu Luiyue was the one who caused a commotion recently. Who is this Chu Luiyue? Is he a dark horse that suddenly appeared among the juniors? I don't know. Anyway, I've never heard of him before. However, it shouldn't be him, right? I suddenly thought of something. Didn't that Chu Luiyue say that he wanted to enter our academy? If I remember correctly, it should be today, right? Shoo. Lower your voice. Didn't you see how terrible the Crown Prince's expression is? Besides, how can that Chu Luiyue pass the assessment? I think there must be a mistake. The surrounding whispers reached Rong Jin's ears, and his expression became even darker. Yes, I almost forgot. That Chu Luiyue's only condition for breaking off the engagement was to enter Tianlu Academy? No, definitely not. Your Highness. A shout broke the silence. It was the young man who had gone to scout for information. He had returned. When Rong Jin saw that person, he took a step forward and quickly asked, "What happened? What's going on over there?" Even Rong Jin himself didn't realize that his voice had a tinge of unconcealable nervousness. Your Highness, the second place for the Xian Master Assessment is indeed Chu Luiyue. The young man gasped for breath. Rong Jin's heart sank, but he still held onto the last bit of hope. There's someone with this name in this batch of students? The young man paused and awkwardly avoided Rong Jin's gaze. Yes, there is someone called Chu Luiyue. Rong Jin closed his eyes and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Sure enough, it was the same name. He knew it. How could Chu Luiyue be a Xian master? Your Highness, the teenager knew that he had misunderstood. He shrunk his neck and explained in a trembling voice, "This Chu Luiyue is that." Rong Jin was dazed. What did you say? The youth had a long face. Chu Luiyue was admitted to the academy today. Furthermore, she directly participated in the Mystic Cultivator assessment as a new student and obtained second place. Now, the students and teachers over there were already boiling with excitement. It won't be long before everyone on our side knows about it. It was to the extent that this news would spread to everyone's ears in less than an hour. The good-for-nothing Chu Luiyue that everyone could bully not only successfully entered Tianlu Academy, but he also obtained second place for the midterm Xian Master Assessment on the day he entered the academy. This would definitely cause an uproar in the entire imperial city. Rong Jin didn't recover his senses for a while. Then, he grabbed the young man's collar and shouted angrily, "What nonsense are you talking about? How can someone with a blocked Yuan meridian be a Xian master? Your Highness, how would I dare to lie to you?" This was something that Elder Sun Zhongyan had personally said. Moreover, he swallowed his saliva and wanted to cry. That Chu Luiyue passed all 3 assessments and got into the academy. Teacher Bai Chen said that Chu Luiyue is a rare genius that only appears once every few decades. He'll definitely have a bright future in the future. Bang. Chapter 54. What could be more laughable than this? During the years of their engagement, she was cowardly and lowly, causing him to lose face. However, the moment the engagement was cancelled, she transformed into a genius that everyone envied. Rongjin refused to believe it no matter what, but he knew that the academy would never make such a mistake. Then, this meant that Chu Luiwei was really a Xian master genius. The crowd was stunned when they heard this, including those who were joking earlier. They were just joking, but who knew that it was true? Some people looked at Rongjin with complicated gazes. How unlucky must he be to encounter this? The moment the engagement was cancelled, the other person became a highly sought-after genius, and she was even a Xian master. An outstanding Xian master genius was much more precious and popular than a normal warrior genius. If Chu Luiwei had won second place with her own abilities, she would have really made a comeback in the future. From now on, countless people would be begging for her favor. However, Rongjin actually gave up on such a rare Xian master genius fiancé and chose Chu Xianmin. Even though Chu Xianmin was quite talented, she was still a warrior and was naturally inferior to a Xian master. In addition to the things that happened at the banquet, many people felt that she was shameless and would do anything to climb up the social ladder. She did not care about her reputation at all. Comparing the two, it was tragic. Some people looked at each other quietly and discussed softly. If this happened to me, I would regret it to death. That's right. That's a Xian master. Si Ting won first place and she won second place not long after. Doesn't this mean that her talent is about the same as Si Ting's? After all, Si Ting started cultivating from a young age. This Chu Luiwei seemed to have been bullied in the past few years, right? Even though I don't know how she suddenly became a Xian master genius, things will be different in the future. Keep your voices down. Can't you see how terrible that person's face is? Hey, who can withstand such a difference? Princely mansion. Rong Xiu reclined on the couch. The sun shone through the window, and his long eyelashes cast a shadow under his eyelids. His clean and noble face was clear and pure, as if he was carved by the heavens with the purest ice. Only the crimson color of his thin lips added an indescribable charm to him. He was the only color of spring in this world of ice and snow, the most enchanting of all. Footsteps could be heard outside the door. It was Yanqing who walked in. Yanqing bowed and said, "Master, the things you've chosen are ready." Rong Xiu's eyelashes fluttered as he opened his eyes. A glint flashed across his deep eyes. "The exam results are out, right?" "Yes." First young Mistress Chu has passed all 3 examinations and entered Tianlu Academy. Yanqing's tone was calm, but the waves in her heart had not yet subsided. God knows how shocked he was when he received this news. Although he had already guessed that first young Mistress Chu was not a simple person, he did not expect her to be so capable. Also, first young Mistress Chu took part in the midterm exam. I heard that she came in second place for the Xian Master exam. Rong Xiu raised his brows. Her flamboyant personality is really a headache. Yanqing glanced at her master, and the corners of her eyes twitched. Then why are you smiling? You're not even this happy when you encounter your own problems. Yanqing, what do you want to say? Rong Xiu glanced at her. Yanqing immediately straightened her body. What this subordinate wants to say is, Master's vision is really excellent. Rong Xiu's slender fingers tapped on the table. After pondering for a moment, he chuckled softly. Since she's having fun, then let her have fun today. We'll double the gifts that we've prepared. Yanqing asked hesitantly. Then your share. Chapter 55. Chu Luiwei was still unaware of what was happening outside. The moment she received the flag, the fireworks immediately flew up and exploded in midair. She raised her brows in surprise. She originally thought that only the first place would receive such treatment, but she didn't expect the second place to be so high profile. She purposely took second place because she didn't want to attract too much trouble. However, this wasn't bad either. At least from now on, no one would be blind enough to casually find trouble with her. You are Chu Luiyue? Chu Luiyue turned around and saw a benevolent-looking elder sizing her up. Behind him were two middle-aged men. A small Xian formation floated beside them. She understood that these people were the Xian masters controlling the Xian formation in the forest. She curtsied. Student Chu Luiyue greets the teachers. Elder Sun is one of the 5 great elders of the academy. A middle-aged man couldn't help but remind her. Chu Luiyue immediately corrected herself. Greetings, Elder Sunday. Sun Zhongyan waved his hand and chuckled. What's so important about this? It's Lu Yu's first time at the academy, so it's normal that she doesn't know about this. I didn't expect the academy to accept another genius like you. No wonder that brat Bai Chun likes you so much. You are indeed very good. That brat, looks like this elder's seniority is really high. She hadn't heard of the 5 great elders before, but they clearly had revered statuses. Chu Luiyue thought this in her heart, but she didn't show it on her face. She spoke in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. Elder Sun is too kind. Seeing her like this, Sun Zhongyan liked her even more. Although she was young, she was very calm and composed. If most students could obtain first or second place in the exam, even if they spoke modestly, their eyes would inevitably carry a hint of pride. However, Chu Luiyue's gaze was calm, as if she really didn't care. Either she didn't know what this meant, or she didn't care about the difficulty of the exam at all. This isn't too much of a compliment. You do have the talent to become a Xian master. If we had discovered it earlier and nurtured it, it would have been a different story today. I don't know what's wrong with the Chu clan, but they actually wasted such a rare genius. If Chu Luiyue had not proposed to enter Tianlu Academy, he would have been buried for the rest of his life. The two middle-aged men looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. Elder Sun seemed to have a gentle temperament, but in fact he had extremely high standards. Very few students could enter his eyes. Although Chu Luiyue's performance was not bad, wasn't Elder Sun's evaluation a little too high? Chu Luiyue smiled. You think too highly of me? I'm already very happy to be able to study in the academy. Sun Zhongyan stroked his beard and smiled at Si Ting. Citing, you have to work harder in the future. Si Ting pursed his lips and looked down. Elder Sun is right. It seemed that Elder Sun had also noticed something. This Chu Luiyue had most likely conserved his strength during the assessment. Since the assessment is over, come and take a look at this Xian formation. Elder Sun said as he pointed at the silver Xian formation floating in midair. Si Ting and Chu Luiyue followed his advice and walked over. This Xian formation was personally set up by Sun Zhongyan, and it was extremely intricate and complicated. If they could see it with their own eyes and understand it, they would naturally benefit greatly. After about an hour, the sound of hurried footsteps could be heard from the forest again. Chu Luiyue looked up and smiled. It was Si Yang. At this moment, his hair was messy, and his clothes were stained with blood. It was obvious that he had suffered a little inside. He was very different from his initial high-spirited self. His gaze swept across the row of flags in front of him and realized that there were only 2 empty spots. In other words, there were only 2 people who had arrived before him. He was third. At this thought, a smile finally appeared on his face. He quickly walked over and pulled out the flag. Although the process was very difficult, it was worth it to get this result. Then he looked up in front of him. In the Xian formation in the forest, he could not hear anything from the outside world, so he did not know who was first and second. When he looked up, he saw a familiar tall figure. It was indeed Si Ting. He turned his gaze and looked to the side. When he saw that beautiful face, he froze on the spot. Congratulations. Chu Luiyue clapped his hands and smiled. Third place. Si Yang's mind was a mess and he instinctively asked, "Why are you here?" Chu Luiyue blinked. "Because I'm second. You." Chapter 56. Si Yang felt like he was about to vomit blood. He was too slow. He was in third place. Such a result was something to be proud of, but Chu Luiyue was mocking him. But he could not refute it. After all, he was in second place. Even if he did not believe it, Chu Luiwei did not have the guts to lie in front of Elder Sun and the others. Thinking about what he said before and comparing the results of the two of them, he felt a burning sensation on his face. When did you come out? Si Yang held on to his last hope and struggled to ask. If Chu Luiwei was only a little faster than him, then it did not count. This girl and Si Ting were less than half an hour apart. She was about an hour earlier than you. Sun Zhongyan smiled. Si Yang was a good kid in other aspects, but he was a little too arrogant and self-righteous. Using Chu Luiwei as an excuse, Sun Zhongyan could also teach him a lesson and make him restrain himself. Indeed, after hearing Elder Sun's words, Si Yang's last bit of hope disappeared completely. He lowered his head dejectedly. If there was a crack in the ground, he would have crawled into it immediately. To think that he had provoked Chu Luiwei just now. Now, he looked like a joke. Chu Luiwei asked, "If you feel that it's a pity that we did not have a real fight today, we can do it another day." Si Yang's heart skipped a beat. He took a closer look at Chu Luiwei. Then, he realized to his surprise that Chu Luiwei did not have any injuries on his body. This assessment had tortured him greatly, but Chu Luiwei did not seem to be affected at all. He gritted his teeth and turned his head away angrily. "No need. I admit that you were better than me in today's round." After saying this, he felt that he had lost all his face. He did not want to stay here any longer. Lu Yu is indeed very talented in this area. You will be classmates in the future. It's always good to help each other and interact more. Sun Zhongyan said. Si Ting finally looked away from the Xian formation. This student will remember Elder Sun's advice. Sun Zhongyan nodded. Then, the announcement of the third place sounded again. This time, it was Si Yang's name. Originally, Si Yang had been looking forward to seeing his name appear in such a manner, but now that it had really happened, he wasn't happy at all. She even felt an inexplicable sense of shame when she thought about being next to Chu Luiwei. The other party had quietly taken second place, so what was his third place? He walked behind Si Ting and did not say a word. Occasionally, she could not help but look up at Chu Luiwei. He couldn't understand how Chu Luiwei, who was ridiculed by everyone in the imperial capital, could suddenly become so powerful. When Chu Luiwei looked at him, he quickly looked away and pretended that nothing had happened. Only his ears were getting redder and redder, exposing his guilty conscience and nervousness. After a few times, Chu Luiwei finally couldn't help but laugh out loud. "If you have any questions, feel free to ask." This time, not only his ears, but Si Yang's face and neck also turned red. He actually didn't want to say much to Chu Luiwei, but he was really too curious. Finally, he couldn't help but ask awkwardly, So many people said that you're a loser. Are you pretending?" Chu Luiwei raised his eyebrows slightly. When he said this, the others also looked over. In fact, this was also what they wanted to ask. Chu Luiwei shook his head and gave a straightforward answer. Si Yang leaned forward, but Chu Luiwei shut his mouth. It was obvious that he didn't want to explain further. He was a little disappointed, but he also knew that this was someone else's secret, and he had no right to ask. He could only mumble, "I knew it. If you're pretending, why don't you just take first place? I heard that the first place this year can even meet the envoy from the Tianling dynasty." Chapter 57. Her eyes flickered as she concealed the shock in her eyes. Then she looked confused. "The Tianling dynasty? You don't know?" "That's right. Your life in the Chu family was so miserable. It's normal that you don't know about such a powerful existence." Only then did Si Yang feel better. At the very least, he knew more about this than Chu Luiwei. As a direct descendant of the Si family, he had only heard of some rumors. However, this was already beyond the reach of ordinary people. Chu Luiwei curled her fingers as if she didn't care about Si Yang's words. She smiled and said, "Why? Is the so-called Tianling dynasty very powerful?" "It's more than powerful. It's an existence that the entire country Yaochen looks up to." Si Yang was excited. Just as he was talking excitedly, Si Ting glanced at him. "Si Yang." Si Yang became listless and coughed. I know. I shouldn't talk about such things." Chu Luiwei was silent for a moment before she asked again, You said that we can meet their envoy if we get first place in the assessment? Si Yang glanced at Si Ting carefully. Seeing that he didn't seem to have any objections, he nodded. Although we don't have the chance to go to the Tianling dynasty, it's a great opportunity to meet their envoy. As he spoke, he glanced at Chu Luiwei and shook his head. It's pointless for you to ask these questions. This assessment has already ended. You got second place. Anyway, you don't have the chance anymore. Chu Luiwei looked down. You seem to be very concerned about this matter? Si Ting suddenly asked. He clearly saw from the side that Chu Luiwei's entire person seemed to be different after hearing this news. Previously, even when she got second place in the assessment, she was very calm. It was as if she didn't take this matter to heart and was just casually doing it. However, just now, Chu Luiwei seemed to be asking casually. However, when she asked, it meant that she was concerned about this matter. According to Si Yang, this is a rare opportunity. It's fine if I didn't know about this before, but now that I know, I naturally want to see it for myself. Chu Luiwei looked magnanimous, but there was a hint of regret between his brows. What a pity! She was reborn in country Yaochen, which was very far away from the Tianling dynasty. She originally thought that it would take many years for her to go back and take revenge on those people. However, he had never expected that the people of the Tianling dynasty would come by themselves. Although she didn't know who the so-called envoy was, she could at least find out some information. However, the Tianling dynasty rarely sent envoys to their subordinate countries. At the very least, during the years that she was in power, they had never sent anyone to country Yaochen. What was going on this time? Chu Luiwei withdrew his gaze and once again looked at the profound formation in front of him, as if he was still concentrating on studying it. But in reality, her mind was still on the matter of the envoy of the Tianling dynasty. If she missed this opportunity, she didn't know how long she would have to wait to find out more about the Tianling dynasty. Country Yaochen was just an inconspicuous country among the dozens of subordinate countries. The probability of this happening was extremely low. Of course, her current ability wasn't enough to support her revenge, but if she could find some clues, it might not be a bad thing. It had been a full year since the day she died. She wanted to know what happened after that. Chu Luiwei felt as if there were two little people fighting in her heart, making her feel very conflicted. Big brother, if you see the envoy, you must tell me what he or she is like. Si Yang moved closer to Si Ting with a yearning and envious look. I heard that everyone there is a top-notch expert. It would be great if I have the chance to go there and take a look in this lifetime. Si Ting smiled. Work hard. There will be a chance. Si Yang's eyes lit up and he nodded vigorously. But soon his face fell. Sigh, but I don't know how long I have to wait. This opportunity only came once in a few decades in country Yaochen. It was very rare. Elder son, I would like to ask you a question. Chu Luiwei suddenly asked. Sun Zhongyan nodded. Go ahead. Does the academy have a rule that a person can only participate in one assessment? Sun Zhongyan shook his head. There isn't. However, there wasn't such an example before. This is because although the assessment is divided into martial warrior, Xian master, and celestial physician, every student has their own specialization. Basically, they will only participate in one of their specialties. He looked at the girl in front of him and suddenly vaguely guessed something. You want to participate in another assessment? Chu Luiwei pursed her lips and smiled, her eyes shining brightly. Elder son is wise. How can this be? You have already participated in the Xian Master assessment. Another teacher blurted out to express his objection. Chu Luiwei looked calm. Teacher, you seem to have forgotten that I just entered the academy today. I haven't chosen any subject yet. Therefore, I am qualified to participate in other assessments, right? As soon as he finished speaking, everyone choked. That's right. Chu Luiwei was admitted to the academy by passing all 3 examinations. In that case, before she decided on what she wanted to study, she could really take part in any examination. But your talent as a Xian master is the best, and you've already obtained second place. Even if you participate in other assessments, you won't be able to obtain better results. Another teacher couldn't help but say. Chu Luiwei was unmoved. We'll only know after we try. You're crazy. Si Yang was stunned for a while before realizing what Chu Luiwei was planning to do. He immediately rushed to her side and shouted anxiously, I admit that you're very talented as a Xian master, but this doesn't mean that you can have any advantages in the martial warrior and celestial physician assessments. Aren't you courting death if you go like this? Second place is already very good. Why are you so stubborn? If you get beaten half to death, let's see what face you'll have when you come back. Chu Luiwei looked at him in surprise. This fellow seemed to be worried that she would be bullied. Si Yang's face and neck flushed red. He felt a little guilty under her gaze and raised his voice. Don't let your imagination run wild. Now that everyone knows that you're second place as a Xian master, you're already considered one of us. If you go and embarrass yourself, we'll also be mocked by others. The heavenly doctors didn't say anything, but the martial artists and mystic cultivators had actually been secretly competing with each other. Si Yang had already acknowledged Chu Luiwei as one of them, but seeing her like this, he naturally refused to agree. Chu Luiwei patted his shoulder. Chapter 58. It's finally the finals. Min, first place is yours, right? I heard that you broke through again? Show us what you're capable of. The warrior assessment area was more than halfway through and had reached the finals. This group had the most students, about 300 of them. However, only 2 of them were able to pass through all the stages and make it to the finals. Chu Xianmin was one of them. Hearing the praises of the people around her, Chu Xianmin's mood finally improved. She said humbly, I'm sorry. She said humbly, I'm not as powerful as you say. Besides, Gu Mingfeng is very powerful too. I might not be first in this assessment. Gu Mingfeng was the other person who entered the finals. He was also from the Gu family, one of the 4 big families. He's just a bastard. How can he compare to you, Min? Said a girl with a snort. If it weren't for his talent, why would the Gu family care about him? In country Yaochen, the hierarchy between the first wife and the second wife was very important. Chu Xianmin glanced at Gu Mingfeng from afar and saw that he was looking in her direction. He was actually very good-looking. His facial features were exquisite as if they were carved by the heavens. However, his amber eyes seemed to have a hint of darkness, which made people shudder. A look of disapproval immediately appeared on her face as she tugged at her. Strength is everything. Yen, don't say such things in the future. The girl called Yen, who did not notice that Gu Mingfeng was looking in her direction and stuck out her tongue. So what? Does he dare to find trouble with the Lu family's second missy? Although the Lu family could not be compared to the Gu family, she was still the first wife's daughter. Chu Xianmin looked up at Gu Mingfeng but saw that he looked away as if he did not hear her. Of course, Gu Mingfeng heard her. She wanted to do him a favor, but he did not seem to take the bait so easily. Chu Xianmin actually did not like bastards with no status and decided not to think about them. Lu Fian pulled her sleeve and whispered, Min, Chu Xianmin, you're the second runner-up in the assessment. Min, Chu Luiwei took second place in the Xian Master assessment. No matter what, you can't be suppressed by her. You must take first place. Chu Xianmin's face stiffened. She was annoyed at Lu Fian for being so tactless and touching her sore spot. She nodded reluctantly. I know what to do. At this moment, a firework exploded in the distant sky. First place for the 451st Batch Warrior Assessment, Rong Jin. It's the Crown Prince. The first place is indeed him. Lu Fian's eyes brightened, and she hurriedly shook Chu Xianmin's arm. Min, His Highness the Crown Prince is indeed as powerful as the rumors say. I heard that the competition in that year was very intense. He was really amazing to be able to take first place. Chu Xianmin smiled nonchalantly. This is a piece of cake for Brother Jin. Lu Fian was envious and jealous when she heard her calling him so intimately. Hey Min, His Highness the Crown Prince thinks highly of you. Since the examination is over, will he come to see you? As soon as he finished speaking, even the people around him looked over. Chu Xianmin was a little embarrassed. If it was before, the Crown Prince would definitely come. However, after that banquet, the Crown Prince's attitude towards her had become much colder. He probably wouldn't come. She forced a smile on her face. The assessment over there has just ended. Brother Jean should still be busy and won't have time to come over. Before he could finish, a familiar voice came from nearby. What are you talking about, Min Min? This is your finals. Of course I have to come. Chu Xianmin's heart skipped a beat, and she immediately looked up. Crown Prince Rong Jin, who was wearing a purple brocade robe, was walking over. Chu Xianmin was happy and nervous at the same time. He must know that Chu Luiyue took second place in the Xian Master Assessment. Why is he here to see me instead of being angry? Rong Jin walked in front of Chu Xianmin with a rare gentleness. He emphasized every word as if he was emphasizing something. Chapter 59. Chu Xianmin immediately guessed Rong Jin's thoughts. He had just broken off his engagement with Chu Luiyue, but Chu Luiyue was admitted to Tianlu Academy and even took second place in the Xian Master Assessment. This was equivalent to slapping the Crown Prince in the face. At this time, she could only take first place in the Warrior Assessment and prove that she was stronger than Chu Luiyue. Only then could she save some face. This not only concerned her but also the Crown Prince. That was why he rushed over under such circumstances. He wanted to let everyone know that he did not lose anything by giving up Chu Luiyue and choosing Chu Xianmin. Don't worry, Brother Jean. I'll do my best. Chu Xianmin knew that this was her chance, so she hurriedly agreed. As long as she performed well today, the Crown Prince would have a way out, and everything else would be easy. Rong Jin nodded in satisfaction. He liked Chu Xianmin's intelligence the most. She knew what to do and what not to do at the right time. Chu Xianmin, Gu Mingfeng, are you ready? The finals are about to start, shouted the teacher in charge of the assessment. Upon hearing this, Chu Xianmin and Gu Mingfeng walked toward an empty space in the middle. The other students had already formed a circle and were waiting for the finals to start. To be able to stand out among hundreds of outstanding students, the two of them naturally had sufficient talent and strength. The finals will determine the final first place. There is no time limit until one side concedes. However, you are not allowed to kill during the competition. Otherwise, you will be disqualified from the competition. The teacher raised his voice and glanced at the two of them. Do you understand? Remember. Competition. Start. The atmosphere in the arena suddenly became serious after the teacher gave the order. Please give me your guidance. Chu Xianmin said politely. As soon as she finished speaking, her feet moved and she quickly attacked Gu Mingfeng. A sharp light flashed across Gu Mingfeng's eyes. The two of them fought hand to hand and immediately became a mess. The two of them are about to break through the standards of a Stage 4 warrior. I'm afraid it will take some time for the winner to be decided. Some teachers from the academy were watching at the side. They watched the situation in the arena and discussed softly. Chu Xianmin has been fighting steadily, so she must be stronger. She should win this round. I've heard that Gu Mingfeng has also been diligently cultivating recently. It's hard to say who will win. Chu Xianmin and Gu Mingfeng did not have the same teacher, so it was inevitable for them to compare. A teacher chuckled and narrowed his eyes. Actually, I want to take a look at the Xian Master Assessment. Hee, old you, there's nothing wrong with you usually, but you like to watch the fun, and that's the worst part. The Xian Master's test is nothing more than Xian formations. You can't even understand them, so what can you do there? I think you probably want to see Chu Luiyue, right? Someone at the side mocked. The person who was exposed simply admitted it. Aren't you curious? Previously, everyone said that she was a good-for-nothing, but in the blink of an eye, she became a mystic cultivator. Could it be that the entire Chu clan was blind? Why didn't they discover such a genius? Old you, let's not get involved in the matters of the aristocratic families. At this point, everyone looked at each other and did not say anything else. They quickly changed the topic to Chu Xianmin and Gu Mingfeng's match. 5 minutes had passed, but the two of them were still locked in a fierce battle. Chu Xianmin gradually became anxious. This was because she realized that Gu Mingfeng was stronger than she had imagined. If this continued, the first place would be in jeopardy. She quickly glanced at Rong Jin from the corner of her eye and saw that his face was indeed gloomy. Chu Xianmin secretly gritted her teeth. This can't go on. I have to end this quickly. Chapter 60. Gu Mingfeng raised his sword at the same time. The two swords met and made a piercing sound. Sparks flew. Chu Xianmin's heart sank. The strength in Gu Mingfeng's sword is stronger than mine. He actually hid his ability just now. Thinking of this, Chu Xianmin panicked even more. I can't lose to Gu Mingfeng. I must take first place today. Gu Mingfeng exerted more strength in his wrist, and the long sword pressed down on Chu Xianmin. Chu Xianmin's entire arm was numb, and she could barely hold the sword in her hand. Suddenly, she had an idea and let go. She lowered her body and dodged to the side. Gu Mingfeng thought that she would try again, but he did not expect her to abandon her sword and lose her footing. The long sword in his hand, which was filled with force, missed. It even caused his body to sway. At this moment, Chu Xianmin had already circled to his side. A cold light flashed in her hand. It was a sharp dagger. By the time Gu Mingfeng reacted, the dagger was already in front of him. It was only half an arm's length away from his neck. He subconsciously wanted to turn his long sword around, but it was too late. In a hurry, Gu Mingfeng could only retreat quickly. However, he had already lost his footing just now, and now he had lost his center of gravity. He looked at Chu Xianmin with a cold gaze. This Chu Xianmin dared to trick me. The anger in his heart burned. Just as he was about to move, he suddenly thought of something. His expression changed slightly, and he hesitated for a moment. No, I can't do it now. In this moment, Chu Xianmin was already in front of him. Gu Mingfeng secretly reduced half of the strength in his leg and kicked Chu Xianmin's wrist. Bang! He actually kicked the dagger in Chu Xianmin's hand away. However, Chu Xianmin was already prepared and immediately lifted her leg. She kicked Gu Mingfeng's heart. With a muffled sound, Gu Mingfeng's body flew backward. Then he landed heavily on the ground. He left a long mark on the ground. The crowd outside the arena quietened down. An examiner raised his voice and said, Gu Mingfeng has left the arena. Chu Xianmin wins this round. Upon hearing this, the rock in Chu Xianmin's heart finally fell to the ground. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. Did Chu Xianmin do that on purpose just now? I think so too. Their strength is about the same. How could she let go of her sword so easily? If not for that, Gu Mingfeng wouldn't have failed. Are you jealous that Chu Xianmin got first place? It's not like everyone doesn't know about her talent and strength. Was there a need to resort to such means? The teachers didn't say anything. But it did look a little strange just now, one of the teachers laughed. A competition is a competition. Sometimes, it's not bad to be a little smarter. There were other teachers who didn't agree, but they didn't say anything in the end. They could clearly see that Chu Xianmin was skirting the boundaries. Even though it wasn't very good, it wasn't a big mistake. When they really fought in the future, the situation they would encounter would be much more dangerous than this. Moreover, Gu Mingfeng seemed to have no intention of competing for first place. Hearing the teacher say so, the doubtful voices in the crowd gradually disappeared. Chu Xianmin walked to Rong Jin and gently exhaled. Luckily, I didn't disappoint Brother Jin. Rong Jin smiled and said, Your strength has improved a lot compared to before. It seems like you can break through to become a stage 4 warrior soon. He didn't care about the process. What he wanted was the result. I promised you before that I would give you a reward as long as you came in first. Rong Jin was in a good mood now, and he found Chu Xianmin much more pleasing to the eye. She couldn't be his wife, but she could be his concubine. First place for the 453rd batch of students' warrior assessment. Chu, wait. Before the examiner could finish his announcement, he was suddenly interrupted by a clear female voice. Everyone looked over at the same time, and they were all shocked. Chu Luiwei, why are you here? The examiner was a little angry at being interrupted, but his voice became much gentler when he saw that it was Chu Luiwei. Chu Luiwei smiled and said, My name is Chu Luiwei. Chapter 61. You want to take part in the warrior assessment? The teacher was shocked. Didn't you already take part in the Xian Master assessment? Chu Liwei explained. Today, it's my first day. I haven't chosen a subject yet, so I should be able to take part in the warrior assessment, right? The teacher was stunned. That's not wrong, but there has never been a precedent like this before. Normally, even if a person had many talents, they would only choose one to focus on cultivation. For example, people who could become Xian masters would usually put a lot of effort into Xian formations and not warrior cultivation. A person's energy was limited. If one wanted to do both, they would not be able to do both well. Besides, Chu Liyue's Yuan meridian was blocked, so becoming a Xian master was the best choice. Why did she want to take part in the warrior assessment? The academy doesn't stipulate that a person can only take part in one assessment. Since this girl wants to try, let's give her a chance. The teacher raised his head to take a look and was immediately shocked. He bowed respectfully. Greetings, Elder Sunday. Chu Liwei also looked back and nodded gratefully. She originally wanted to do it herself, but she did not expect Sun Zhongyan to follow her. It seemed like he wanted to support her. Since Sun Zhongyan had spoken, it was not appropriate for others to stop her. The teacher hesitated for a moment and said awkwardly, "It's not impossible if you want to take part in the assessment. However, the assessment here is over. Even the finals are over. If you want to take part in the assessment, you need an opponent to determine the winner. However, there isn't a suitable candidate now." Chu Luiwei lifted her chin. "Isn't there a suitable candidate? Chu Xianmin?" The teacher said in disbelief. "You want to fight with the top warrior? Are you kidding me? Is Chu Luiwei stupid?" She lacked a Yuan meridian and could not even be considered a first-stage warrior's opponent. How could she compare to Chu Xianmin, who was about to break through to become a stage 4 warrior? Once she went on stage, only failure awaited her. Chu Luiwei paused and smiled. "That's right. Because I'm here to take first place." After the finals ended, the warrior assessment area had already calmed down. Many people were already preparing to leave. However, they did not expect Chu Luiwei to participate in the assessment and even challenge Chu Xianmin. The originally quiet crowd immediately boiled over. "Are you serious? Chu Luiwei wants to fight Chu Xianmin? Huh, did I hear wrongly just now? She said she wants to take first place. What the? This Chu Luiwei is usually quiet, but once he does, he will amaze the world. Does she think that she hasn't been in the limelight enough today? The sisters are fighting, and the crown prince is right next to them. How lively!" If it weren't for the fact that there were so many people watching, Chu Xianmin would have laughed out loud. Chu Luiwei actually wanted to compete with her for first place? If it was a mystic cultivator competition, she couldn't do anything to her, but if it was a martial artist competition, Chu Luiwei was simply looking for a beating. "Sister, do you really want to challenge me?" Chu Xianmin was filled with jealousy and hatred, but she did not know how to vent it. Who would have thought that Chu Luiwei would come knocking on her door? Chu Luiwei raised her eyebrows. "You're not going to accept? I'll follow your orders, sister. But don't worry, sister. I'll be careful and won't hurt you." As she spoke, she smiled at the teacher. "Teacher, please allow me to participate in this competition." Since the two of them had agreed, the bystanders naturally did not stop them. "Sure. Then we'll have another match. However, I'll repeat myself. Don't go too far." Chu Luiwei did not comment. Rong Jin looked at the girl not far away with a complicated expression. The once lowly girl had now become a Xian master genius. Did she purposely come here to prove something in front of me? However, after waiting for a while, Chu Luiwei did not even look in his direction. It was as if she did not care about him at all. An inexplicable anger arose in Rong Jin's heart. He turned and looked at Chu Xianmin. Chapter 62. Chu Xianmin was flattered. The crown prince liked her, but he rarely spoke to her in such a gentle tone. She could even hear a hint of affection in his voice. Especially in front of so many people. Didn't this mean that the crown prince wanted to marry her as soon as possible? Chu Xianmin's heart was filled with joy and pride, and her smile became even sweeter. Then I'll thank you first, Brother Jean. Rong Jin nodded, but his peripheral vision quickly swept toward Chu Luiyue, who was not far away. However, he saw that she had already walked toward the arena in the middle as if she did not care about what was happening here and did not care about what he was doing. Rong Jin pursed his lips tightly, and the inexplicable anger in his heart burned even more fiercely. Didn't Chu Luiyue previously say that she had a crush on him? Why did she have such an attitude now? In the past, he only had disgust for her. The marriage agreement between the two of them was like a huge mountain pressing down on his heart, making him extremely angry. However, now that the marriage agreement was broken and she did not pester him or even look at him, he felt that something was amiss and a little uncomfortable. He did not know why he had such a feeling, but it could not dissipate and continued to linger in his heart. Rong Jin quickly retracted his gaze and looked at Chu Xianmin in front of him. He suddenly felt that it was a little boring. Chu Xianmin did not notice Rong Jin's abnormality at all as she turned and walked to the arena. The two of them faced each other from afar. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. Sister, I haven't congratulated you. I didn't expect you to be so talented as a Xian master. If the family knew, they would be very happy. Chu Xianmin had a smile on her face as if she was truly happy for her. The crowd looked at each other with suspicion in their eyes. What did this mean? How could the Chu family not know that Chu Luiyue was a Xian master? Then, how did she start learning to be a Xian master? How did she win second place among so many outstanding students? Don't worry. They will know about this very soon. I don't know if they'll be happy, but you don't seem to be, third sister. Chu Luiyue's words were very direct. She had no intention of beating around the bush and pretending to be close sisters. Chu Xinmin's face was a little embarrassed. Elder sister, you're treating me like an outsider. It's a good thing for the entire Chu family that you can become a mystic cultivator, so how can I not be happy? The more talented and powerful you are, the happier your sister will be. I'll have to trouble elder sister to give me some pointers in this warrior assessment. Snickers came from the crowd. Chu Luiyue has a damaged Yuan meridian and can't even be considered a martial artist. He will definitely lose this match. How can he have the ability to teach Chu Xianmin? Haha. Looks like the two sisters have completely fallen out with each other. The corners of Chu Luiyue's lips curved up slightly. Since third sister says so, then, I won't be polite. Before she finished speaking, her figure suddenly disappeared. Chu Xianmin was stunned, and her heart skipped a beat. How can Chu Luiyue be so fast? A piercingly cold and dangerous aura suddenly attacked him from behind. Chu Xianmin subconsciously turned around and drew her sword. A red figure flashed before his eyes. Chu Xianmin quickly swung her sword forward and viciously stabbed forward. The sharp sword instantly pierced through the person's chest in front of her. Before Chu Xianmin could rejoice, she saw that not only was the figure not injured, but it also slowly disappeared. She immediately felt that something was amiss. This was not Chu Luiyue at all. It was only her afterimage. Your reaction is too slow. A cold voice was heard. Chu Xianmin looked up and saw Chu Luiyue standing 3 steps away, looking at her indifferently. Her gaze was as if she was looking at an ant. Chu Xianmin felt an inexplicable sense of inferiority when she was looked at like this. What happened just now? The spectators at the side did not expect Chu Xianmin to miss and looked at each other. A few teachers' expressions changed slightly. They looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. How can Chu Luiyue be so fast? It looks like she's not weaker than a stage 3 warrior. She's not even a warrior. How can she have such strength? At this moment, Bai Chen could not help but raise his eyebrows proudly. Think about it. What's so strange about little Lu Yu being able to pass the warrior exam? The teachers were stunned when they heard this. Chu Luiyue passed all 3 exams. This proves that her strength can reach the level of a stage 3 warrior. Bai Chen felt relieved when he saw their expressions. Do you think that I secretly went easy on little Lu Yu to get into our academy? The teachers were silent for a moment and shook their heads. Bai Chen was very straightforward and magnanimous. He would never do such a thing. Let me tell you, the best part is yet to come. This group of people is not flexible. They will regret it when they see the girl's talent. Oh, it shouldn't be like this. Chu Xianmin gritted her teeth. Chu Luiyue is just a good-for-nothing, but I'm about to break through and become a stage 4 warrior. How is it possible that I'm not Chu Luiyue's match? What happened just now was just a moment of carelessness. Chu Xianmin did not say a word as she circulated the force in her body and injected it into her longsword. Buzz. The sharp edge of the sword began to tremble, bringing with it a frightening sword cry. Go. Chu Xianmin tipped her toes and quickly attacked Chu Luiyue. Chu Luiyue looked up. The sharp sword aura came straight at her. Her hair flew up with the wind. This time, Chu Luiyue can't avoid it. Some people in the crowd discussed softly. However, the next second, the crowd was shocked to see that Chu Luiyue did not retreat. Instead, she advanced. She took a step forward and planned to face the attack head-on. The key was that she did not have any weapons on her. She wanted to fight Chu Xianmin barehanded? Wouldn't he lose for sure? The long sword was only half an arm away from Chu Luiyue's neck. Chu Xianmin looked at the face that was getting closer and closer, and a sinister thought suddenly surfaced in her heart. This face is really becoming more and more beautiful. If I can destroy it, I'll see how I can show off in the future. Thinking of this, she turned her wrist slightly, and the tip of the sword moved away by an inch, stabbing toward Chu Luiyue's face. Murderous intent flashed across Chu Luiyue's eyes. Then she bent her left leg slightly, and her right leg flew up and kicked toward Chu Xianmin. Bang! She actually kicked Chu Xianmin's wrist. A sharp pain came, and Chu Xianmin cried out in pain. Before she could react, Chu Luiyue had already closed in on her quickly. She flipped her body and sent her left leg flying. This time, she directly kicked Chu Xianmin's face. Chapter 63. My face. Chu Xianmin felt that something was amiss and immediately touched her face. It was sticky to the touch. That piercing pain made her heart tremble. Chu Luiyue actually ruined my face. Anger exploded from the bottom of Chu Xianmin's heart and washed away her last bit of rationality. She quickly looked at the bottom of Chu Luiyue's feet and saw that there were indeed a few extremely sharp blades. Chu Luiyue had just used this to scratch her face. There was an 80% chance that it would leave a scar. She hurriedly covered her face as she questioned him with a trembling voice. Chu Luiyue, what grudge do I have with you for you to harm me like this? Chu Luiyue calmly glanced at her sword that had fallen to the ground. Weren't you the one who wanted to ruin my face first? Chu Xianmin was instantly speechless and felt guilty. Actually, everything happened in an instant. When she decided to take the opportunity to leave something on Chu Luiyue's face, she only turned her wrist slightly. If one did not look closely, they would not have noticed anything wrong. However, Chu Luiyue directly guessed her intentions. No, I didn't. I was just sparring with you. Why would I think of doing such a thing? It was clearly you. You wanted to do this long ago, didn't you? Otherwise, how could you be so fast just now? Chu Luiyue's lips curved slightly as he mercilessly mocked her. I'm fast because I'm stronger than you. You should have known this from the very beginning, right? Chu Xianmin's anger was stuck in her chest. It was so uncomfortable that she felt like she was going to explode. She had no way of refuting Chu Luiyue's words. When the two of them first sparred, Chu Luiyue was indeed very fast. However, her face was ruined just like that. How could she take it lying down? The murderous intent in Chu Xianmin's heart surged crazily. I'll kill you! Chu Xianmin screamed and rushed toward Chu Luiyue. Even though her face was scratched, her physical strength was still there. Now that she was furious, she directly exploded with her fastest speed. Even the surrounding heaven and earth force seemed to be guided as it surged toward her and entered her body. In a short period of time, Chu Xianmin's aura became even stronger. Sky Star Fall. In the blink of an eye, red origin power quickly gathered on her hands and quickly formed a burning fireball. Then she violently threw the red fireball. The fireball burned quickly and charged toward Chu Luiyue. The fireball's powers body's body, leaving a long burn mark on the grounds of Chu Luiyue's heads. As expected, she's about to break through to the 4th rank. She can actually barely use martial skills now. Looks like she's going to win this round, a teacher said in a low voice. Ors writes to the point, is. Not to mention that she's not a stage 4 warrior, even if she is, she might not be little Yoyue's match. Once he said that, it immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding teachers. Baichen, why do you think so highly of Chu Luiyue? You have to know that it's a huge leap from a stage 3 warrior to a stage 4 warrior. The gap in between is not something an ordinary person can easily cross. Looking at Chu Luiyue's reaction and movements just now, she must have undergone some simple training. To be able to execute those moves to such a standard proves that she is indeed talented as a warrior. It's a pity that she doesn't have a Yuan Meridian. It's useless against martial arts. Bai Chun could not be bothered with them. Even if Chu Luiyue really could not become a real warrior in the future, her abilities were more than enough to deal with Chu Xianmin. The scene of the examination appeared in his mind again. He still vividly remembered the moment when he was fighting with Chu Luiyue. He felt like he was on the brink of death. In the arena, Chu Luiyue did not panic when faced with Chu Xianmin's all-out attack. Instead, she raised her eyebrows and laughed. Since you asked me to teach you, watch carefully. This is how to use a sword. As she spoke, she quickly went forward and kicked the long sword on the ground up. She then quickly grabbed the hilt. So fast! Exclamations came from the crowd. Chu Luiyue's movements were even faster than before. Compared to her, Chu Xianmin seemed to have slowed down on purpose. Chu Luiyue staggered her feet, bent her knees slightly, and tightened all her muscles. She was ready to unleash all her strength. She held the sword in her hand tightly. Just as the red force flame was about to burn her body, she suddenly raised her arm. The long sword hung high in the air with a cold light. Swoosh! Chu Luiyue slashed down without hesitation. This slash was extremely fast. The crowd did not even see how Chu Luiyue moved. They only saw a blurry silver shadow flash past quickly. They even heard the sound of air being torn apart. It was frightening. The next moment, the silver light passed through the middle of the red flame. Everything happened in an instant. However, in the crowd's eyes, Chu Luiyue's slash did not seem to have any effect on stopping the red flame. That terrifying energy was still rushing towards her at high speed. You want to block my martial skill attack with that little bit of strength of yours? You must be dreaming, Chu Xianmin sneered. A piece of trash who can't even be considered a martial artist probably doesn't even know what martial arts are. With just one move, Chu Luiyue would be crippled, if not dead. However, her smile suddenly froze on her face the next moment. This was because the flame stopped an arm's length away from Chu Luiyue. After a short silence, it suddenly exploded. Boom! In an instant, the fireball exploded into countless sparks. As for the power that enveloped it, it quickly dissipated. Just as the sparks were about to land on his body, Chu Luiyue raised his sword again, flipped his wrist, and slashed horizontally in front of him. The strong sword aura immediately formed an invisible barrier in front of her, blocking all the aftershocks outside. Countless sparks fell like bright stars in the dark night. They landed around her body, but her body was clean as if it had never been stained by a speck of dust. Her pair of black eyes seemed to be even more dazzling than the sparks. Everyone was stunned on the spot. If they did not see it with their own eyes, they would not have believed that Chu Luiyue could successfully stop Chu Xianmin's martial arts attack with just a sword. Chu Xianmin was even more shocked. She widened her eyes and even forgot about the piercing pain on her face. She stared at Chu Luiyue in a daze, and her mind was blank. In the next moment, Chu Luiyue suddenly threw the long sword in his hand at Chu Xianmin. The piercing murderous intent came from all directions. It engulfed her. An indescribable sense of fear made Chu Xianmin's body go soft, and she could not move. The long sword flew past Chu Xianmin's head and instantly sliced off a piece of her scalp. Ah! Chu Xianmin screamed and immediately fell to the ground. Just now, she almost died. Your reaction is too late. You're too slow. You're too clumsy. It seems like you're only so. A cold and indifferent voice came from above her head. Chu Xianmin trembled as she raised her head. However, she saw that the weak girl she had once stepped on had completely changed her appearance. She was like a high and mighty existence that could not be touched. She made people submissive from the bottom of their hearts and did not dare to disobey her. Chapter 64. Chu Xianmin's entire body trembled. Her face was pale, and she was as scared as a ghost. Her lips trembled, but she could not say a single word. Just now, that sword had flown directly over her head. If it had been just a little bit off, she would have lost her little life. Everyone was dumbfounded. When did Chu Luiyue become so strong? Her sword contained origin power, muttered a teacher in shock. Otherwise, there was no way to explain how that sword could have such a strong force. Chu Xianmin's ability was close to that of a stage 4 warrior. No ordinary person could force her to this stage. Doesn't this mean that her Yuan meridian is unblocked? The other teachers looked at each other in disbelief. No wonder, Bai Chen let out a long sigh. When he fought with Chu Luiyue previously, he already felt that something was amiss. Now that he thought about it, this was the only explanation. It seems like this girl has hidden her abilities well. Sun Zhongyan was stunned for a moment before he laughed. He looked at Chu Luiyue with shock and admiration. Even he did not feel that anything was amiss. If she had not fought with Chu Xianmin, who knew when the others would have found out about this secret? How can this be? Didn't they say that Chu Luiyue's Yuan meridian is unblocked? The shock in everyone's hearts could not be calmed down. If Chu Luiyue is a warrior, why can't everyone detect it? If she had revealed a bit of force before, it would have been detected. Chu Xianmin would not have been so careless and lost so badly. Sun Zhongyan looked at Chu Luiyue calmly and smiled as he stroked his beard. That's because she's not a warrior yet. What? All the teachers were stunned. She has absorbed enough heaven and earth force in her body, but she has never taken that step to become a real warrior. That's why no one noticed. Ling Zhu sighed softly. The way he looked at Chu Luiyue was completely different from before. At such a young age, she already knew how to hide her strength and bide her time. Her temperament was much stronger than other people her age. But the dean had checked her before, and she did indeed have an incomplete Yuan meridian. Why is it now? I heard that a few days ago, Chu Luiyue sold the crown prince's hunting grounds and bought many medicinal ingredients from the treasure pavilion. At that time, this matter had caused a great uproar. Could it be that it healed at that time? But there are only a few celestial physicians in the entire country Yaochen. Who has such ability? In their opinion, repairing a damaged Yuan meridian was clearly an impossible task. However, now that Chu Luiyue was standing right in front of them, they had no choice but to believe it. Admit defeat or continue. In the arena, Chu Luiyue looked down at Chu Xianmin from above and spoke nonchalantly. Continue? When Chu Xianmin heard this, her body trembled violently. The pain on her face and head kept reminding her of what had just happened. If she continued, she was afraid that her entire body would be destroyed by Chu Luiyue. However, she felt extremely aggrieved to admit defeat to Chu Luiyue. Chu Xianmin slowly raised her head and looked at Chu Luiyue, who was standing in front of her. The girl that she had once stepped on, bullied, and toyed with was now looking down at her with the attitude of a victor. She never would have thought that such a day would come. Once she admitted defeat, the first place would belong to Chu Luiyue. She would win everything with ease. Chu Xianmin felt as if there were two forces crazily tearing each other in her heart, making it difficult for her to choose. Then, let's continue. Chu Luiyue did not have the patience to wait for her. He directly said this and raised his right hand. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. Chu Xianmin seemed to have been provoked by something as she suddenly screamed. At the same time, she quickly retreated and stared at Chu Luiyue's right hand in panic as if she was avoiding a flood or a ferocious beast. Chu Luiyue tucked a strand of hair behind his ear with his right hand and chuckled. What are you nervous about? I said that I'm only here to get first place. As she spoke, she looked at the examiner at the side. Teacher, can you announce the results now? The examiner was dumbfounded when he saw everything in front of him. He only regained his senses when Chu Luiyue spoke. Even though he had never imagined such a scene before, It was the reality now. He swallowed his saliva with difficulty. Batch 453 Warrior Assessment. First place, Chu Luiyue. First place, Chu Luiyue. This voice immediately spread far and wide. It reverberated throughout the entire back mountain. It was clearly transmitted to everyone's ears. Chu Xianmin's face instantly turned ashen, and her tears flowed down uncontrollably. It's over, the Chu family is really muddle-headed. I'm afraid they'll regret it when this news gets out today, said a teacher as he shook his head. Everyone clearly saw who was stronger in this match between Chu Luiyue and Chu Xianmin. Needless to say, Chu Luiyue even came in second place in the Xian Master Assessment. There were not many people in the entire country Yaochen who had such outstanding talent in both warrior and Xian Master. Such a person, no matter which family he was in, would be doted on. However, how did the Chu family treat her all these years? She was bullied and humiliated by everyone. Bai Chun chuckled and touched his chin. I'm afraid someone else will regret it the most. Upon hearing this, the few teachers beside him immediately looked in a certain direction. They did not forget that there was still a key person here. Crown Prince Rongjin. Of these two sisters, one was his ex-fiancée whom he had abandoned, and the other was his new lover whom he doted on. One of them got rid of her reputation as a good-for-nothing and completely became a genius that everyone envied. The other's reputation was tarnished, and her reputation was ruined. She even lost to the other party in the competition that she was most confident in. She mistook a fish-eye for a pearl and abandoned the real treasure. Who wouldn't regret it? Rongjin stood rooted to the ground as if he had turned into an ice sculpture, exuding a terrifying chill. There was no expression on his face. It was like the frozen ground, cold and stiff. Only his hands and his sleeves were tightly clenched. It was as if he wanted to crush something. Not even 15 minutes had passed from the start of the competition to the end. His conversation with Chu Xianmin still seemed to echo in his ears, but Chu Luiyue had already given them a tight slap. In the competition venue, Chu Xianmin lay limp on the ground as tears and snot flowed down her face. Her face was a bloody mess, and a piece of her scalp had been shaved off. She looked extremely pathetic and ugly. However, Chu Luiyue was completely unscathed. He was as noble as the sun in the clouds. He did not put on any makeup, and his lips curled up into a smile. He was already beautiful beyond compare. The people standing beside him were all silent. They did not even dare to move, much less look at his current expression. However, Rongjin still felt countless gazes landing on him. Mockery, ridicule, and contempt. All of this was because of Chu Luiyue. However, the culprit had already walked down from the competition venue and did not even look in his direction. It was as if he could not control himself as he quickly went forward and blocked Chu Luiyue's path. He questioned sternly, "Why? Did you lie to me on purpose? You were acting at the birthday banquet that day. You just wanted to break off the engagement with me, didn't you?" Chu Luiyue blinked. "Your Highness, where did this come from? You were the one who suggested breaking off the engagement." Rongjin was instantly speechless. He was indeed the one who suggested it that day. However, how did he know? "I'm afraid you don't have to hold the celebration banquet for third sister, Your Highness." Chu Luiyue's smile became even more moving as he sincerely said, "However, I still wish you to have a blissful marriage. However, I still wish you all the best. May you live a long and happy life together and have a child soon." Chapter 65. He did it on purpose. Chu Luiyue did it on purpose. Rongjin was not a fool. Seeing Chu Luiyue's current attitude, how could he not understand? She actually wanted to break off the engagement a long time ago. If not, why would she sell the hunting ground on her own? She even triggered a series of events later on. Rongjin looked at the smiling girl in front of him. Her eyes sparkled brightly as if she had long expected this day. "If there's nothing else, Your Highness, I'll take my leave first." As Chu Luiyue spoke, she walked past him. From start to end, she did not look back at all. Rongjin's heart seemed to be harshly stabbed by something. It was as if he had suddenly lost something important at this moment. He clenched his fists tightly and used his last bit of rationality to resist the urge to pull her. What position did he have now? Everyone was looking at him as a joke. Brother Jean, help me. I'm in so much pain. Brother Jean. When Chu Xianmin saw Rong Jin, it was as if she had seen her last life-saving straw. She cried even more miserably. She wanted to get up and walk toward Rong Jin, but her body seemed to be uncontrollably limp. She could not muster any strength no matter what. After struggling for a while, she slumped to the ground. A few parts of her body were smeared with dirty dust. In addition to her messy hair, frightening wounds, and bloodstains, she looked as frightening as a malicious ghost. At this moment, she no longer looked like the proud and popular genius girl. Many people in the crowd looked at her with disgust. Chu Xianmin has really lost this round. Hee, didn't you like her a lot before? Why not? I don't dare to like such a bold and unrestrained girl. She has really embarrassed herself today. In the future, whether it's in the academy or the entire imperial city, her days won't be as good as before. If not, how can she win the crown prince's favor? There are too many women in the imperial city who want to get close to the crown prince, but Chu Xianmin is the most successful. It seems like the crown prince's taste is really sharp. Hey, do you think the crown prince will still marry Chu Xianmin after today's incident? I don't know if the crown prince will marry her or not, but I do know that from today onwards, Chu Luiyue will immediately become the most sought-after noble lady in the capital. Now that her engagement with the crown prince has been annulled and she has regained her freedom, her appearance can already be considered peerless, and she's also a dual genius as a martial artist and mystic cultivator. The Chu family's doorstep will probably be trampled to pieces. Whispers could be heard. Rong Jin's body alternated between hot and cold. It was as if there was boiling lava in his chest that would explode the next second. He stared at Chu Xianmin, who was in front of him, with extreme hatred in his heart. Take her away and let her recuperate. Rong Jin clenched his teeth and ordered. Someone immediately came forward and carried Chu Xianmin away. When she passed by Rong Jin, Chu Xianmin reached out her hand to ask for his comfort. Brother Jin, Rong Jin gave her a warning look. During this period of time, you should recuperate well. Don't come out if there's nothing important. Got it? Chu Xianmin had never been looked at like this by Rong Jin before. It was cold and indifferent. He looked at her as if he was looking at a useless piece of trash. Chu Xianmin's entire body trembled. She timidly retracted her hand and suppressed the fear and indignation in her heart. Yes, little Lu Yu, you're really something. I told you that you're a rare genius. Those old fellows didn't believe you. On the other side, Bai Chen had already rushed to Chu Liyue's side and excitedly raised his chin at the group of teachers. Second in the Shen Master class and first in the warrior class. What else do you have to say with such results? The teachers looked at each other and laughed helplessly. Ability was always the most powerful evidence. If they did not see it with their own eyes, they would not have believed that the good-for-nothing Chu Luiyue, who was once mocked by the entire imperial city, could actually do this. Sun Zhongyan smiled and shook his head. That's enough, Bai Chen. From now on, no one will suspect that you purposely went easy on Lu Yu so that she could get in. On the contrary, I have to commend you for not letting the academy lose a true genius. Bai Chen thought of how perfunctory he had been to Chu Luiyue previously and immediately scratched his head guiltily. Sigh. This has nothing to do with me. It's mainly because little Lu Yu was outstanding. Many students looked at Chu Luiyue with eyes that had changed from disdain to curiosity and admiration. Teacher Bai Chen, can you tell me what happened during the exam? A student suddenly shouted. This sentence attracted the crowd's response. Yeah, tell us. Passing all 3 tests? How did he pass them? Bai Chen jokingly scolded. Do you bastards want to rebel? I'm a teacher, not a storyteller. This matter has already spread outside. You guys can go and find out for yourselves. The crowd roared with laughter. Chu Xianmin listened to the laughter and felt that it was extremely piercing. In the past, she was the center of everyone's attention. She was the target of everyone's envy. But now, Chu Luiwei had completely replaced her and even gained more than her. What about her? Now, she could only be carried out of the competition venue and leave dejectedly. She was miserable and pitiful. She closed her eyes hatefully and gritted her teeth so hard that they almost broke. Chu Luiwei, it's not over between us. Rong Jin was in the same awkward situation as Chu Xianmin. He stood there stiffly and listened to the lively laughter behind him. He felt even worse. I still have some things to settle in the palace. I'll take my leave first. Rong Jin turned around and cupped his fists towards Sun Zhongyan and the other teachers. He then quickly left without looking back. Lu Yu, today is your first day in school. You can choose any subject as your major because you passed all 3 examinations. Now that you've participated in 2 examinations, I'm sure you have a deeper understanding of these subjects. Have you thought about which one to choose? Asked Sun Zhongyan. Once this was said, the crowd suddenly quietened down and looked at Chu Luiwei curiously. Bai Chen nervously swallowed his saliva. Originally, he thought that Chu Luiwei was the most talented as a Xian master. However, after the previous competition, he realized that Chu Luiwei had no problem with her Yuan Meridian. Furthermore, she also had an extremely outstanding cultivation talent as a martial artist. There were no more obstacles in front of her. Whichever path she chose would lead to a bright future. Chu Luiwei smiled. I choose Xian Master. The Chu family residence. There were no empty seats in the hall. All the important people in the Chu family were gathered here. There was a suffocating silence in the spacious hall. Nobody said a word, and they all had different expressions. They all rushed over after receiving the news and knew why they were gathered here today. Finally, Third Elder stroked his beard and said, The news has spread throughout the imperial capital. The news has spread throughout the entire imperial city. Many people have even sent gifts over. According to the rules, we should celebrate Liu Yue's admission into Tianlu Academy. Celebrate what? First Elder's face was ugly as he slammed the table. Chapter 66. Third Elder Chu Yin chuckled and asked with interest, What do you think? First Elder, you must be joking, right? Lu Yu got into Tianlu Academy and brought honor to the Chu family. Why are you punishing her instead? Everyone in the hall fell into an even more awkward silence. If it were any other Chu family disciple who got into Tianlu Academy, they would be overjoyed. However, this person had to be Chu Luiwei. She was the person who had been bullied by the entire Chu family for more than a decade. The more outstanding she was, the more embarrassing it was for the Chu family. It proved how blind they had been all these years. Now that the entire imperial city knew about this, everyone came to congratulate them on the surface, but they were mocking them behind their backs. Many people were waiting to see them make a fool of themselves. The First Elder was furious. It's because of this that we have to punish her. There's nothing wrong with her body, and she's even quite talented, but she pretended to be useless and deceived the entire Chu family. Now that she's in the limelight, what does she think of the Chu family? The First Elder is right. I didn't expect Chu Luiwei to be so scheming. I don't believe that she didn't do this on purpose. Chu Yen suppressed the anger in his heart and spoke in a low voice. He had been handling some matters outside, but he rushed back immediately when he heard the news. At this moment, he hated Chu Luiwei to the core. Not only did she get into Tianlu Academy, but she even participated in the midterm assessment and came in second in the Xian Master assessment and first in the Warrior assessment. She had completely suppressed Minmin. How could Chu Yen accept this? If the Chu family disciples follow her example and are all like her, will there still be rules? Everyone in the hall exchanged glances when they heard this, and they all had different expressions. Chu Yan's words seemed to be for the sake of the entire Chu family, but in reality, everyone knew that he was abusing his position to take revenge. He was most proud of having Chu Xianmin, the most outstanding daughter in the family. Now that Chu Luiwei had shone brightly and even defeated Chu Xianmin, how could he be convinced? He might even want to kill Chu Luiwei. The Third Elder sipped his tea unhurriedly. Others may not know whether Lu Yu's body is healthy or not, But don't you think the Chu family knows best? Back then, His Majesty had invited several doctors to diagnose her, and all of them had said that she had an incomplete Yuan meridian. Even during the family test a few years ago, Lu Yu still didn't have any force in his body. If that's the case, Great Elder said that she was deceiving her superiors and concealing her subordinates. Could it be that you suspect that those people were lying? The Grand Elder's expression froze. I didn't say that. Those few people had venerated statuses, and they were not people he could offend. If word of this got out, his days would not be easy. Chu Yan did not give up and snorted coldly. Of course, those people can't be wrong. The only one at fault is Chu Luiyue. According to what the third elder had said, she had been lacking a Yuan meridian previously. How had she become a genius in the blink of an eye? She had never said anything about what had happened in between. If I hadn't gone to Tianlu Academy today, I don't know when someone would have found out about this. Everyone looked at each other. Actually, this was what they were most confused about. What exactly had happened to Chu Liyue's body for her to undergo such a drastic change? Could it be the herbs she bought a few days ago? Someone whispered uncertainly. After those herbs were sent over, Chu Liyue handled them herself. Are you trying to say that Chu Liyue repaired her Yuan meridian on her own? The Grand Elder was so angry that he laughed, finding it extremely absurd. During that period of time, he had sent people to secretly monitor Chu Liyue and her father, but he had not seen anyone enter their courtyard. No one in the entire country Yaochen could repair her Yuan meridian. How could she have done it on her own? Either she had obtained some fortuitous opportunity, or someone even more powerful was secretly helping her. No matter what the reason was, he had to dig it out. The family head is still in seclusion, so I will handle all the Chu family matters. When Chu Liyue returns, immediately bring her here for interrogation. He sternly scanned everyone in the hall, and his gaze finally landed on the third elder. The family head handed the Chu family to me, so I naturally have to be responsible for the entire Chu family. Chu Yin, why have you been so opposed? What are your intentions? The third elder sneered in his heart. This old thing is getting more and more shameless. He's really lawless when the family head isn't around. He relaxed his body, leaned back in his chair, and said indifferently, the Grand Elder misunderstood. Grand Elder, you've misunderstood. I'm not opposing you. I just feel that there aren't many capable people in the younger generation of the Chu family. Now that Chu Liyue has finally appeared, she's a top-notch martial warrior and Xian master prodigy. She has also gained the favor of Tianlu Academy's teachers. Her future will definitely be limitless. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that she's the future face of the Chu family. Even if the first elder wants to interrogate, punish, and interrogate, there should be a limit. Of course, the first elder is so wise and wholeheartedly devoted to the Chu family. You definitely won't do anything overboard, right? The first elder was choked by his words and swung his sleeves fiercely. Of course. At this moment, a manservant suddenly rushed in from outside the door in a flurry. First elder. The first young mistress is back. The first elder rebuked angrily. So what if she's back? Why are you panicking? He raised his eyes and looked outside. Where is she? Tell her to come see me immediately. The page boy knelt on the ground with a plop. He looked flustered and helpless as he stammered, this. The first young mistress is back, but she's standing outside the door and refuses to come in. What? The first elder frowned. What is she trying to do now? If she doesn't want to come in, does she want us to invite her in? All these years, Chu Liyue had always been timid in the Chu family. Now that she had just been admitted to Tianlu Academy, she was actually so arrogant. He snorted softly and looked around at everyone. See? Nothing has happened yet, but she's already putting on airs. Everyone in the hall had different expressions. The third elder asked, what did she say? The page boy wiped the sweat off his forehead. The first young mistress said, she wants the first elder to come out and meet her. She's rebelling. The first elder slammed the table and stood up. Who does she think she is? The third elder stroked his beard and laughed. First elder, Chu Luiwei isn't anyone. She's just a rare genius that only appears once in 100 years. She's the most outstanding person among the younger generation of the Chu family. You just said that the Chu family is the most important thing. You will not go, right? You. The first elder was furious. Fine, I'll go. I want to see what tricks she's up to. In front of the Chu family's door, Chu Luiwei stood with her hands behind her back. She looked at the two golden words, Chu family, on the plaque with a calm and indifferent gaze. Chapter 67. When the first elder and the others rushed to the main entrance, they immediately saw Chu Luiwei standing in front of the main entrance. At the same time, they also saw the huge crowd not far away. It was currently afternoon. The news of Chu Luiwei getting into Jianghu Academy had already spread throughout the entire imperial city. Thus, many people rushed over to watch the show. Although they did not dare to get close to the Chu family's main entrance, they still formed a group and blocked most of the streets leading in and out of the Chu family. The first elder, who was already filled with anger, became even more furious when he saw this scene. What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and come in. He looked at Chu Luiwei and shouted angrily. She stood there without moving. Did she want the entire imperial city to laugh at the Chu family? Chu Luiwei tucked her hair behind her ear and asked with a faint smile, First elder, I was a loser. Great elder, I used to be a good-for-nothing. I had nothing to say when you ordered me around. However, now that I've been admitted into Jianghu Academy, why are you still treating me like this? Don't tell me you don't like me that much? The first elder choked and said in a low voice, You've been admitted into Jianghu Academy. It's a good thing that you got into Jianghu Academy. However, if you use this as your capital to act arrogantly, you can't do that. He raised his voice without batting an eyelid and said righteously, The Chu family is one of the 4 imperial cities' families. Our Chu clan is one of the 4 great clans of the imperial capital. As a junior, you made me your senior, personally invite you over. Do you know what you've done wrong? Chu Luiwei burst out laughing. She looked at the first elder as if she had heard a joke. First elder, you also know that you're a senior? All these years, when I was bullied, have you ever appeared as a senior to protect me, not even once? You. The first elder was at a loss for words and looked away. There are so many things going on in the Chu family. It's normal for us to overlook things occasionally, that's why this oversight lasted for 10 years. Chu Luiwei interrupted him. The smile on his face gradually disappeared and his eyes turned cold. When I was 5 years old, I was fed poison by the servants and was in a coma for 3 days and 3 nights before I came back to life. When I was 7 years old, I wanted to cultivate like the other children, but I was told that I didn't even have the qualifications to go to the training grounds. When I was 10 years old, I was finally able to leave the manor, but because I had to go shopping for sundries and carry water to wash the clothes of those lazy servants in the middle of winter, my hands were full of frostbite. All of this, first elder should not know, right? Chu Luiwei said calmly, but it made people feel a deep sense of despair and desolation from the bottom of their hearts. What did a child do wrong to deserve this? The great elder and the others were all speechless. The crowd on the street also fell silent. Everyone in the capital knew that the Chu family had a good-for-nothing. However, almost no one remembered that this trash was also a direct descendant of the Chu clan. No matter what, there was no reason to treat him so harshly. That's all in the past. Besides, it didn't cause you any substantial harm, did it? You even got into Jianghu Academy. What are you trying to do by saying all this now? Do you want the entire Chu clan to apologize to you? The great elder shouted angrily out of humiliation. Chu Luiwei didn't say anything. Her cold, sharp eyes swept across the people in front of her. Countless scenes flashed in her mind. Those were the memories of the original body. Even if she wasn't the real Chu Luiwei, she couldn't help but feel angry and hateful when she recalled those things. Perhaps it was because she had used this body, or perhaps it was because they had both been in a desperate situation. Now that she was Chu Luiwei, She naturally had to settle old and new grudges together. Chu Luiyue, you're too insensible. No matter what, the Chu clan gave birth to you and raised you. Even if they didn't take any credit, they still worked hard. Now, not only are you not grateful, but you're even accusing the Chu clan of being unfair to you in front of so many people. What are you trying to do? Chu Yan finally couldn't hold back and shouted loudly. Chu Luiyue glanced at him. Aren't I speaking the truth? Besides, my parents have always been the ones who gave birth to me. When did it have anything to do with the rest of the Chu clan? Chu Yan, I haven't settled the score of you secretly bullying my father all these years. How dare you say this to me? Although Chu Ning's abilities had weakened after he was injured, he was still outstanding in other aspects. Most of the credit for the shop under Chu Yan's name being able to operate well was due to Chu Ning. However, Chu Ning wasn't valued because of this. He was even oppressed by Chu Yan. The entire Chu clan would flatter the strong and trample on the weak. One could imagine how they treated Chu Ning. As a result, the father and daughter's days became increasingly difficult, and Chu Ning became increasingly gloomy. How dare you? Chu Yan didn't expect Chu Luiyue to scold him in front of his face. He was so angry that his brain went blank for a moment. Then, he pointed a trembling finger at Chu Luiyue and scolded, You. Chu Luiyue, do you really think that you're amazing just because you got into Tianlu Academy? Not only did I get in, but I also passed all 3 assessments. I also came in 2nd place for the Xian Master assessment and 1st for the Warrior assessment. Chu Luiyue raised his eyebrows. I'm not that amazing. I'm just a little better than Chu Xianmin. You. Chu Yan was so angry that he almost died, but he couldn't win against Chu Luiyue verbally. After all, everything she said was true. Strength was respect. There was no more powerful saying than this. Enough. First Elder suddenly shouted angrily and stared at Chu Luiyue. Go back right now. Reflect on your mistakes. First Elder, you seem to be mistaken about something. I didn't ask you to come here to invite me back. Chu Luiyue didn't move at all and said word by word, I'm here to cut ties with the Chu clan. Chapter 68. Everyone was in an uproar when she said that. What did Chu Luiyue say? She wanted to cut ties with the Chu family? Was she crazy? What did you say? The first elder asked subconsciously because he was too shocked. Chu Luiyue's expression was resolute. Every word was sonorous. It was as if thunder had struck everyone's hearts, causing a huge commotion. I said that from now on, my daughter and I will have nothing to do with the Chu family. Do you understand? Do you know what you're saying? The first elder stared at Chu Luiyue in disbelief. He had never expected her to say something like that. The Chu family's blood flows in your veins. What you said is very unfilial. Very disrespectful. I think you're going to turn the world upside down after getting into Tianlu Academy. Not only the first elder, but everyone in the Chu family was also shocked. They also thought that once Chu Luiyue made a comeback, she might hold a grudge against them for what happened in the past and might even think of ways to take revenge. However, no one had expected her to be so resolute and choose to cut ties with the Chu family. Even if she had become a genius now, it was simply wishful thinking for her to go against the entire Chu family. No matter what, the Chu family was one of the 4 great families in the imperial city. With their status, many people did not even have the chance to climb up to them. How could she make such a choice? I'm not here to discuss with you. I'm here to inform you. Chu Luiyue did not seem to care about the commotion her words caused. She was still calm and composed. This sentence was simple and plain, but it carried a hint of authority that could not be disobeyed. The third elder finally frowned. Luyu, you can't say such things casually. I know you feel indignant, but this is too impulsive. Third elder, I've made up my mind. Chu Luiyue's tone toward the third elder was considered polite. This was because in the original body's memory, this person was one of the few people who had helped her and her father. He did not have a son and had always thought highly of Chu Ning. He even treated him as half a son. However, too many things happened later on. Although the third elder wanted to help him, he was powerless to do so. The third elder looked at Chu Luiyue. He wanted to say something but hesitated. In the end, he could only sigh. In the end, he was still useless. If he had more power in the Chu clan and helped them a little, the father and daughter would not have fallen to such a state. If Chu Luiyue had not been admitted to Tianlu Academy today, he would not have had the confidence to confront the first elder. This girl had clearly given up on the Chu clan. If the Chu clan wanted to keep her, it would be too late. Chu Luiyue, now that Chu Ning isn't here, do your words represent his intentions? Chu Yen, who had been angered half to death, finally came back to his senses. He suddenly asked anxiously. Chu Luiyue and Chu Ning's departure might not be a good thing for the Chu clan, but it was beneficial for his family. Chu Ning would no longer be able to compete with him for the position of the next head of the family, and Chu Luiyue would no longer be able to occupy the best resources of the Chu clan as a genius. Once the father and daughter left, everything in the Chu clan would be his. Chu Luiyue saw his eyes flickering. How could she not guess what he was thinking? She smiled and said slowly, "My words are clear. Of course, I represent my father. Don't worry, after we settle the final score, the father and daughter will naturally leave cleanly and cleanly. We will no longer have anything to do with the Chu clan." She raised her fingers. "First, my mother's dowry was 120 dan. If I remember correctly, after my father was injured, you used the excuse that my father did not need to work hard and gave the dowry to Lu Yao to manage. Since you want to sever ties, you should return it to us." Chu Yen and Lu Yao's expressions turned unsightly. "Second, my father is the son of the head of the family, and I was once the eldest daughter of the Chu clan. Although the head of the family is no longer around, if he knew that my father and I left without anything, he would definitely feel uneasy. It's not too much for us to take a fifth of the Chu clan's assets, right? Dream on." Chu Yen was the first to object. "The Chu clan has many descendants. You and your daughter want to take a fifth of it so easily? How can there be such a good thing? I believe that everyone can see how much my father has done for the Chu clan over the years. If you don't want to give it to me, that's fine too. I will go to His Majesty to seek justice and see if we have a share of the assets." Chu Luiyue said straightforwardly. Chu Yen immediately shut his mouth. Who didn't know that Chu Ning was injured to protect the emperor? If this matter really reached His Majesty, even if it was only out of consideration for his benevolence and righteousness, His Majesty would definitely not treat Chu Ning unfairly. And that would only embarrass the Chu clan even more. First elder was so angry that he laughed. Good. You've actually calculated it so clearly. Since that's the case, from today onwards, the two of you are not allowed to step into the Chu clan's gates. I'd like to see how you'll survive in the capital. Without the Chu clan as their backing, they wouldn't even have a place to stay." Chu Luiyue blinked and smiled. Chapter 69. At this point, everyone understood that Chu Luiyue had this plan all along. She had secretly bought a house and only turned against the Chu family when she was admitted to Tianlu Academy. That way, she could completely break away from the Chu family. Seeing that Chu Luiyue had made all the necessary preparations, the first elder and the rest were instantly aggrieved. If it were in the past, they would definitely not object to Chu Luiyue and Chu Ning doing this. They would even be secretly happy to get rid of the stain. However, now that Chu Luiyue's identity had completely changed, wasn't this equivalent to them being abandoned by Chu Luiyue? If word got out, where would the Chu family put their face? First elder, this Chu Luiyue is really too arrogant. I think there's no need to keep her around. Chu Yen took a deep breath and began to persuade the first elder. What was the point of losing some face now? It was more important to completely eliminate this future threat. However, not everyone agreed with this matter. I think we can't be so careless about this matter. No matter what, Chu Luiyue is a rare genius now. The other families want her but don't have it. If we let her go just like that, wouldn't it be a huge loss? That's right. Moreover, the two of them are direct descendants. Severing ties is a serious matter. Now that the family head is not here, we have to be even more careful. The first elder was not happy to hear this. He coldly glanced at the few people who were speaking. Do you not trust me? Or do you think I have no right to make this decision? First elder, don't misunderstand. We didn't mean that. Chu Liwei is sinister and vicious. Min Min is her younger sister, but she actually injured her without mercy. Moreover, she hates the Chu family. If such a vicious person stays in the Chu family, she will be a disaster. Chu Yen said disdainfully. The first elder's expression was uncertain, and he did not speak for a long time. After the shock, he thought carefully and really wanted to agree to this matter immediately. Not to mention other things, his relationship with Chu Ning and his daughter was very tense. There was even a grudge between them. He would never believe that they didn't hate him at all. If Chu Liwei stayed in the Chu clan, he would definitely be highly regarded in the future. Once she truly matured, he was afraid that his bitter days would come. It was just that it would be difficult to explain to the clan head. First elder, although Chu Liu's talent is not bad, he is stubborn and vicious. He cannot be allowed to live. Moreover, if she left the Chu clan, her future would not be so easy. There was no need to be too afraid. As for Chu Ning, he's just a cripple. What's there to care about? Chu Yen whispered. The first elder gritted his teeth. Someone, bring me a pen and paper. In the end, this matter was brought up by Chu Liwei himself. In the future, even if the patriarch came out of seclusion and pursued the matter, it would still be Chu Liu's fault. There's no need. I've already written the declaration of severing ties and the division of assets. As Chu Liwei spoke, he actually took out 2 pieces of paper from his bosom and handed them over with great sincerity. Great elder, just leave your handprint on it. A few laughs came from the crowd. This Chu Liwei was really ruthless. He had directly prepared everything. The first elder's face turned red. He was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He snatched the 2 pieces of paper, suppressed the anger in his heart, and looked through them. When he found that there was nothing wrong with them, he resolutely bit his finger and pressed it directly. Take it. From today onwards, don't say that you're a member of the Chu clan. The first elder angrily threw the 2 pieces of paper back to Chu Liwei. Chu Liwei did not mind at all. He carefully looked at the bright red handprint on the paper. His red lips curved slightly, and he raised the 2 pieces of paper in satisfaction. All right, from today onwards, I'll go my way and you'll go your own way. However, please remember to send the things on the paper to me within 3 days. I don't like to leave my things with others. Scram. The first elder finally could not hold back and shouted angrily. Then, he flicked his sleeves and turned around. Close the door. As soon as the first elder finished speaking, a surprised feminine voice suddenly came from not far away. Oh, there are so many people here. What's going on? Everyone looked back and saw a fair-skinned, beardless man in an official's robe. He was obviously someone from the palace. The crowd quickly made a path for him. That person walked forward curiously and finally saw Chu Liwei, the first elder, and the others standing in front of the door. He was instantly delighted. Oh, isn't this first young Mistress Chu? His Majesty was very happy when he heard that you were admitted to Tianlu Academy. Chu Liwei smiled and bowed. Eunuch Min, you're too polite. Lu Yu will definitely personally go to the palace to thank His Majesty another day. Eunuch Min was a favored person by His Majesty's side. He was doing even better than the other courtiers. No one could easily offend him. The first elder coughed and quickly adjusted his expression. He squeezed out a smile. Eunuch Min, what brings you here? Does His Majesty have something important to tell you? Oh, I'm here to announce the good news. Today is a double blessing for your residents. Double blessing? What do you mean, Eunuch Min? Eunuch Min beamed and raised his orchid fingers. Chapter 70. After Eunuch Min finished speaking, the street fell into an eerie silence. The first elder and the others didn't look happy at all. Instead, they looked as if they had swallowed a fly. Eunuch Min immediately sensed that something was wrong. What happened to you? The first elder regained his senses and looked at eunuch Min. He wanted to say something, but his throat seemed to be blocked. He couldn't utter a single word. How is this possible? He was severely injured back then. Even the celestial physician said that there was almost no chance of him recovering in this lifetime. How did he suddenly recover and even break through to become a stage 5 warrior? Chu Yen shouted in shock. He couldn't believe it. This was definitely not true. Eunuch Min narrowed his eyes and smiled coldly. But, Lord Chu Yen, are you suspecting that we falsified the imperial edict? Chu Yen was shocked. No. That's not what I meant. I'm just too shocked. There's no news about this at all. How could... Eunuch Min waved his horsetail whisk. He was very clear about the Chu family's situation. Chu Ning and his daughter had suffered a lot in the past few years, and their status in the Chu family was very awkward. They had always been ostracized. It was normal that Chu Ning didn't tell them about his recovery and breakthrough to become a stage 5 warrior. After hearing this news, some people in the Chu family would probably be anxious. Wasn't Chu Yen the example? Chu Ning's rise would be his greatest threat. Of course, he wouldn't accept it. However, Eunuch Min couldn't be bothered to expose him. He smiled and said, "Not to mention you, even His Majesty only found out today. All these years, His Majesty has been brooding over Lord Chu Ning's injury. Therefore, when he heard that Lord Chu Ning had broken through to become a stage 5 warrior, he was overjoyed. Coincidentally, the position of the Imperial Guard's commander-in-chief is lacking. Lord Chu Ning is the most suitable candidate. His Majesty even said that Lord Chu Ning would stay in the palace tonight to talk." Chu Yen immediately shut his mouth. Eunuch Min was clearly warning him. Even His Majesty didn't know about it, so what if he didn't know? Because they didn't know about it, it meant that the first person Chu Ning told was His Majesty. Was there a better way to show his loyalty? Perhaps His Majesty trusted Chu Ning even more now. What else could he say? The commander of the Imperial Guards. That was a great power. The only people who could hold this position were those who had outstanding abilities and were favored by His Majesty. Even Chu Ning, who was in the limelight back then, was only a small captain in the Imperial Guards. Now that he had just recovered, he actually jumped a few ranks and directly became a commander. From now on, he would quickly become the most sought-after figure in the imperial capital. Your Majesty's grace is a great thing. First Elder, your residents should be very happy, right? Eunuch Min continued. The great elder opened his mouth and forced a smile, but it was uglier than crying. What you said is reasonable. Eunuch Min, thank you for making this trip. Chu Liwei stepped forward and interrupted the first elder. This is indeed a joyous occasion. When Father returns tomorrow, we will definitely hold a banquet to celebrate. When the time comes, I hope that Eunuch Min will do me the honor of attending. Eunuch Min liked Chu Liwei even more when he saw how tactful Chu Liwei was. First, young Miss Chu, you are treating me as an outsider. Lord Chu Ning and you are both people with real ability. I can't wait to admire you. When the time comes, I will definitely pay you a visit to congratulate you. Look at your threshold. I'm afraid that it will be trampled to pieces from today onwards. Chu Liwei shook her head and looked meaningfully at the first elder and the others. The threshold is too high. I'm afraid that it will tire you out. Let's go somewhere else. Oh, you might not know, but I have already severed my ties with the Chu clan. From today onwards, my father and I will have nothing to do with the Chu clan. Even though Eunuch Min was used to seeing great storms, he was still shocked at this moment. What? Chu Liwei smiled casually. In other words, these two joyous occasions have nothing to do with the Chu clan and these people. You only need to thank me for this joyous occasion. These people had bullied her countless times in the past, but now she wouldn't let them bask in the slightest bit of glory. Digression, are we eating glutinous rice balls or yuan shao? Hee. Today is 5 chapters. Guess what tomorrow will be? Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from the Love Network. Chapter 71. This is such a big matter. I'm afraid that His Majesty is still unaware. Eunuch Min said hesitantly as he glanced at the first elder and the others. Is this matter settled? The contract has already been written, and there are so many witnesses. Of course, it's settled. Eunuch Min, don't worry. I will personally explain this matter to His Majesty another day. Eunuch Min saw that no one from the Chu clan was willing to explain. He knew that there was no way out of this matter and couldn't help but sigh inwardly. He didn't expect that the cowardly, lowly, and easily bullied trash of the Chu clan was actually such a bold and decisive person. Severing ties with the Chu clan was the same as making a powerful enemy for himself. But now that Chu Ning was the commander of the Imperial Guards, and Chu Luiwei was a genius that everyone envied, the Chu clan probably wouldn't dare to do anything openly. Eunuch Min had always been a good person. He quickly put away his thoughts and cupped his hands toward Chu Luiwei with a smile. Then let me congratulate Lord Chu Ning and Miss Lu Yu on your housewarming. I still have some matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first. Chu Luiwei knew that Eunuch Min didn't want to get involved, so she went along with his advice. Take care, Eunuch Min. Eunuch Min bade farewell to the first elder and the others and quickly left. Chu Luiwei didn't stay any longer and turned to leave. She had only taken a step when she suddenly thought of something and turned around. Right, I heard that many people in the capital have already sent congratulatory gifts to the Chu clan. These should all be for me. I'll have to trouble you to send them over as well. She didn't even look at the ugly expressions on those people's faces as she turned around and left. The first elder stared at Chu Luiwei's back as she left. He wanted nothing more than to go up and teach her a lesson. But in the end, he restrained himself and shouted angrily. Let's go back. Bang! After everyone entered, the Chu clan's gates were tightly shut. However, the gossip that happened in the Chu clan immediately spread throughout the capital. First elder, Chu Luiwei has gone too far. If we don't get revenge for today's humiliation, how can our Chu clan maintain its standing in the capital? After returning to the residence, the first elder only left behind a few people with the most authority in the Chu clan to discuss the matter. Chu Yen was the first to speak, his expression furious. The great elder's face was gloomy, but he didn't say anything. Yeah. Even if she was admitted to Tianlu Academy, she was too arrogant. If he dares to do this now, who knows what he will do in the future? If we don't do anything this time and just admit defeat, then the entire imperial city will say that our Chu clan is useless. This is absolutely intolerable. Does that Chu Luiwei think he can live a stable life after leaving the Chu clan? If we don't let her experience it, she will really think that we can't do anything to her. The few people present were discussing animatedly. The crowd was excited, as if they couldn't wait to teach Chu Luiwei a lesson. The third elder shook his head and said indifferently, "Don't forget, she still has Chu Ning." Everyone was speechless. The commander of the Imperial Guards. The current Chu Ning is indeed troublesome to deal with. So what? Could it be that Chu Ning alone can contend against the entire Chu clan? Chu Yen smiled sinisterly, and a trace of ruthlessness flashed across his eyes. A few powers in the imperial city are intertwined. Chu Ning and Chu Luiwei seem to have turned the tables this time, but how can things be so simple? Since they dared to break ties with us, they must have the guts to bear the consequences. These words made the first elder's eyes light up. He paced back and forth and finally made up his mind. That's right. Didn't Chu Luiwei say that they want to hold a banquet to celebrate? I want to see how many people in the imperial city will go. Chu Luiwei went to the new residence alone. After settling a few things today, she was in a good mood. It was already evening and a gentle breeze blew, causing her hair to flutter. The afterglow of the setting sun elongated her shadow. She walked step by step like this, and it was rare for her to be so relaxed. In the month since her rebirth, she had been nervously planning everything. Today, she could finally relax a little. The surrounding noise gradually disappeared, and it became quiet. She looked up and could already see the green eaves of the new residence. Previously, she had sold the deed to the hunting ground for 300,000 taels of silver, and 100,000 of it was used to buy this residence. This place was the western street of the imperial city, and it was very remote and quiet. Most officials and nobles wouldn't like this place, but Chu Luiwei liked it at first glance. She had lived in beautiful but cold palaces in her previous life. Now that she had been reborn, she really had no interest in those things at all. On the contrary, she liked this quiet place even more. Thinking that she and Chu Ning would be able to live their own lives far away from those people in the Chu clan, she couldn't help but smile. Suddenly, something fell on her face. It was slightly cold. Chu Luiwei was stunned and she looked up. The water droplets fell quickly and soon formed a line. It was actually raining. Chu Luiwei quickened her steps. She turned a corner and walked onto a bluestone road, and at the end of it was her new residence. But after turning the corner, Chu Luiwei was stunned. At the end of the simple bluestone road, there was a person standing in front of the gate of the residence. He was tall, wearing a snow-white brocade robe and a black cloak. The sky quickly turned a gray-blue color, and the rain poured down, as if there was a transparent curtain of rain hanging between the sky and the earth. The rain fell on the bluestone road, creating a faint layer of white mist, and the scene in front of her became a bit blurry. But his noble and peerless figure was still clearly distinguishable. The black and white colors set off his jade-like cold and clear face, like a flower on a high mountain that could only be looked up at. It was actually Rong Xiu? Chu Luiwei's heart had just flashed with a trace of doubt when she saw that person suddenly walk towards her. The sky was dark, and under the flowing curtain of rain, he seemed to come from the darkness. For some reason, Chu Luiwei felt that this Rong Xiu seemed a bit different from usual. She couldn't help but watch as he approached step by step. Finally, he walked in front of Chu Luiwei and stood still. "You," Chu Luiwei said with some hesitation. Rong Xiu suddenly raised his hand, and a black shadow flashed, and the rain above Chu Luiwei's head was suddenly separated. It was he who held up a black umbrella for her. Chu Luiwei looked up at him and met his gaze. That pair of deep eyes was like a bottomless dark night. His voice was cold and ethereal, with a trace of imperceptible affection. "I've been waiting for you for a long time." A better reading experience came from the Love Network. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.